My first introduction to the concept of interviewing punk bands came when I first watched Hated, Gigi Allen and the Murder Junkies. Directed by Todd Phillips, it is still talked about to this day and regarded as Spinal Tap for punks. Immediately after watching that, I wanted to do something similar, but I had no knowledge of Montreal's scene or of any musicians I could reach out to. After hours of research, I came across Scott Maracle from Out of Order, who agreed to being interviewed. Since then, I have discovered, interviewed, and befriended a countless number of local musicians involved in the underground scene of my city. This project initially started off for school. For my end of semester project, I was assigned to write a news story. I chose the local underground music scene of Montreal as a topic because it is now something I am quite familiar with. I wanted to make something about its evolution, so how it was then to now. I first reached out to Danny Duke. Danny Duke was a name I constantly heard about and unknowingly saw perform once. The very first show I ever attended at the infamous Les Foufounes Electriques was The Queers. Danny Duke happened to be opening for them with his band called Fast Food Fairies that night, alongside Teenage Bottle Rocket. How was it that night?
That night was just great. We actually did a show before the day before we played in Quebec City. That every time we play the Queers, or I hang out with them, they let me go for one reason, because I didn't want to move to the US, just like the Undead, same thing. Joe and I are still amazing friends. And so every single time they come to Montreal, I'm there, or even Ottawa or Quebec City. I follow them a little bit. I would just hang out. That's the only time I can actually hang out with my friends.
The following day, I reached out to Shawn Riot. Recommended to me off camera by Danny Duke, I arranged an interview with him. I initially did not recognize the name, but after enough research, I discovered that he sang for Irish Nails. I knew of Irish Nails because of a song that they did with Uncle Costa, another prominent figure of the scene. The song was called Out Die Drown. As pointed out by Danny Duke, Shawn now plays for the Mahones. The Mahones, alongside bands like Dropkick Murphys, are often looked at as pioneers of the Celtic punk genre.
And then I went back later and caught their show, and it was Costa on vocals, of course.
Yeah.
René de la Muerte, who's now done 2 Mahones albums. Mm-hmm. 2, he did Irish Nails. Mm-hmm. He did also Riot, and it's become like a very, very favorite personal friend of mine, Costa, and René. Mm-hmm. Also, I met Danny Duke, who now I consider a brother too.
Having already interviewed him in the past, you can't talk about the underground scene without bringing up Blood Sausage and Vulgar Deli. Costa's contribution to the scene, like that of all of the other musicians in this mini-doc, is undoubtedly remarkable. That being said, I eagerly wanted to speak to him once again and get him on board this project of mine.
Colina Pavit, a Montreal, I'm back Colina Pavit, a Montreal, a little tour. Wow, I haven't heard this in a long time.
Oh yeah, does it bring you back?
Yeah. Okay, you have no fucking album. What the fuck?
Going through the few pictures I had from the last Vulgar Deli show at Barfly, I noticed that their drummer, Rodolphe, was wearing a Dopethrone shirt. For those of you who do not know, Dopethrone is a popular band from Montreal who plays sludge metal. Sludge metal, according to Wikipedia, is almost a blend of doom metal with hardcore punk. I reached out to Shawn, the drummer of Dopethrone and owner of Sound Central. I got the opportunity to speak with them. Not only that, but I also attended their band practice as well, right before they leave on their tour across the United States.
We're going to tour the States.
East Coast?
Yeah, East Coast.
Anything from Kentucky to Detroit to New York?
Yeah, and then it's going to be LA, take a little break. And then
the West Coast.
Yeah, we're going to do the West Coast tour.
California, Portland. Facebook, Instagram, check us out. Hey!
It's going to be better.
Oh my God! Oh, that's yours, eh?
Yeah. Where's it? Right in the middle of the joke. God damn it!
Dude, I haven't seen it. Hey, Mick.
Mais oui, mais oui.
We jam with Big Boss. Salut, ça va?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, this is what you can expect.
That's awesome.
Ça va bien, mec?
C'est juste, j'ai oublié.
Ouais, je l'ai mis
Là,
ici.
je parlais jam.
In a nutshell, I don't know if you know this already because you did, and Costa and myself used to be in a band together.
That's awesome.
Yes.
The blood sausage thing, whatever. Like, you know, I'm not happy with the album.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of what we did. We did a lot.
There
We
you
went
go, yeah.
all kinds of places. We did all kinds of things. I met people and connections, you know, and that are, you know, some of these people I still see like they're dear friends, like close people I call brothers and sisters,
And Vince and myself knew each other from the store back in the day, and I think just that with Montreal kind of being this weird sort of, you know,
I was very incestuous. Like everybody played in everybody's band.
Everyone's like interconnected to one another. The Montreal scene is like one big incestuous family.
Yeah.
Everyone's interconnected to one another. So like,
so, yeah, and it, you know, like it wasn't like I introduced them, but there was definitely an understanding that we knew each other, therefore we knew each other, they knew each other, and then
these are all brothers, bunch of fucking groups. All these bands.
you find it weird how sometimes like you run into someone you don't even know, and they happen to know like half of your friend group.
Well, like yourself tonight.
Kind of.
Are you stalking me, motherfucker?
I just did my research. That's it.
I know, I'm joking.
Speaking of, you know, all these bands you played with, how long exactly have you been in the scene for?
1992.
since '85.
Our first release 2008. We started 2007.
In the late '99.
I saw an ad on both of them for the Ripcordz. They were looking for a bass player. So I was like, why don't I apply for that? I know the band exists. Like I saw them once at Foof. I don't even remember what their music sounds like. So I get the little piece of paper and I just call Paul.
So I started like jamming, and I tried to make a bunch of bands with a bunch of people that didn't work out. I remember
Doing
like
the
jamming with friends back in the day, you know, trying to make a sludge band. Like one of the first songs I would jam was like Scumfuck Blues, you know, like just to cover it.
I moved to Montreal from Windsor, Ontario, when I was 19, I suppose. I was the first bartender at McKibben's Irish pub, and I wasn't a bartender, but they hired me. Then my brother moved up. We had a punk band. We started playing. Our first punk shows were out like Longueuil and like weird South Shore like house parties and stuff.
And they auditioned me and they ended up picking me up. I think mostly because I learned so fast.
Yeah.
And they needed somebody to get on Cross Canadian tour right away. So my first show ever was like a record lunch, a compilation that we were in. And then my first real Ripcordz show was in Toronto, and we were heading to Vancouver. That's pretty much how crazy it was.
UFC looking at.
Yeah. To me, it's been a dream, you know. So.
And me and Finney, hi Finney, we were friends for a long time. My brother actually played in the Mahones as a mandolin player. Then I moved into Mahones, around 2010, went off to Europe.
Speaking of those earlier days, is there anything you regret about it? Would you have done something different?
I was.
I regret that last album. Absolutely. I can't deal with it.
Regret?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I think regret is the stupidest of emotions, and it shouldn't be fucking.
Well, it's not an emotion; it's an attribute.
Regret doesn't really. It's like carrying someone else's backpack. You don't want that. So I wouldn't have any regrets for fucking shit. I just have lessons. That's what I have.
And I was very, very demanding to Paul. Like I would act like an idiot. I was 19.
I have to be honest.
Yeah.
That version of Costa from those days, if I met him today, I would slap him. I was a fucking dick. I
went down to Toronto to play. It's like 2010, 2011 maybe. To play the open air beer fest on the water in a park, open festival. There's big bands like Big Wreck and all these great people playing, and we were on around 6 or 7 in the afternoon. And I got there the night before that I got to my hotel room.
The second tour, I was wasted and just chasing girls. That's all I was doing. I did shows that he had to tell the sound guy to turn my bass down because I was not playing the same show that they were doing. Like I was just drugs and you know.
And I walked in and there was 2 hookers already in the hotel room. And the amount of coke and speed and 2 hookers being paid $500 an hour. And when I was on stage, I couldn't hear. I couldn't see. I was blaming the sound guys. But I hadn't slept, and I was so geeked out of my head by fucking hookers and doing like grams and grams of cocaine and bottles of vodka and Jameson like a fucking idiot. The worst part is I posted on Facebook on the way home, and I posted on Facebook, I redefined rock and roll yesterday. But I sucked. Like I derailed the band. They had to turn my sound off. I was a complete idiot.
It's better to regret something you have done than something you haven't.
That's what most people say when they
So it's
die.
better to regret something
They're
you
about to
have
die.
done, so therefore you can learn from it, and then you can do something from that experience. To regretting something you haven't done, so therefore you have no idea or experience and nothing to build from that.
If you ask anyone
So
that's
is there
dying,
such thing as regrets?
Ask nurse, ask anyone that worked and ask
I am a dick with wisdom now. But personal shit aside, the way it sounds is terrible. I don't like it. I know some people love it. I don't know why, but hey, it's a personal thing.
Absolutely.
But I vowed from that point on to never put out something that I'm not happy with.
And that was the first ever Blood Sausage album.
Album. And the last thing we ever did.
So, you know, obviously the opposite of, you know, regret is pride. So what's your proudest moment then? Because I'm sure you've been in the scene for so long.
Yeah, but I don't know, man.
Already playing with the Queers was like
because they're pretty.
Because that's a band I love. With the Ataris, it's not exactly my kind of music, but at the same time, I think my last show with the Ataris was a festival in Chicoutimi.
career-wise, the most fun, proud moment was that Festival de la Musique street show in Paris. And then Hellfest the next day.
That's the complete opposite.
Walking around, we thought
Speaking of regret.
we're walking around with pictures, thinking they were big pints. It was fucking, yeah, we're wasted.
The bassist bumps into fucking Joan Jett.
But yeah, so but
Not Mike, but Dick.
That's a harder one to answer, actually. Yeah. The garbage ones are easy because they never get out of the back of my head.
Like I had all the staff around, they would treat me like I was a star, and I was like,
Really?
no, I'm a bass player, like I'm a guy like you guys, and but it was just I was like, okay, like I made it at some point, like I made it. I was getting paid to play shows. I was getting flight in, flight out with the Queers and the Ataris. Yeah, they would
airplanes and shit.
and airplanes.
Really?
Yeah, like
you know what's fucking awesome too? Brutal Assault. Brutal Assault.
Brutal Assault. That just happened this last year.
Yeah.
This year,
It's
this summer.
like a fortress in like a Czech Republic.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
Insane.
I think it was Venice. No, it was Bologna. Check on Facebook. All I know is that it was this really big, beautiful stage.
Yeah.
Sounded really, really great. We're playing this song, and the crowd starts to sing along a little bit, and I start like tearing up. To the Hunger and the Fight. It's one of Mahones' best songs. And I remember everyone just being crazy and singing along and like looking out at this big, big crowd and just going like behind my sunglasses, like, am I crying on stage?
Yeah.
But you know what? To be honest with you, I must admit, the Slayer thing.
Yeah,
Okay, regardless of all the bullshit, nobody calling us and all that.
you proud of that?
Very, and that's where I learned how to sing.
Well, if there's one person I could sing some Slayer, would be Costa.
Ready, blood! You know, like I'd be like, cursed black magic night, and I'm driving, and I look over, and people are looking at me. I'm like, oh.
How do you find, you know, since you've started, how do you find the Montreal scene evolved over time, and do you think it's evolved for the better or the worst?
Oh, definitely the better.
Really the worst. I'll say why, because you know, when I started was 1992. First of all, we went through a lot in 1992 because the grunge era arrived, and then we were the old thing already.
Define worst. fine, good, you know.
It depends. It goes up and down. Like there's times where like the scene is like, what the fuck is going on? There's nothing going on. It's like this is moot, and then either there's a revival or a new sound or a new feel or a new bunch of kids or a new a new wave, as it were.
The local scene is, to quote Fair Warning, is you are the scene.
It can't go down. It can only go down if someone says, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And there's always.
But if you got a whole bunch of people saying I'm doing it, then it's gonna happen.
Awesome.
That's all it is.
Like they don't want to discover bands like they used to. Now with YouTube, they'll go and they just listen to it and they'll see, oh, whatever. But back in the days, it was the opposite. We would go to shows and then we'd see, oh, this band's not bad at all. Then we'd listen to their music and we'd be like, no, not that good. But you know what I mean? That's the difference now. Anyway, so this is what I think hurt the scene right now. And
COVID incident, like, that really affected the underground. It didn't affect the big bands. Like, I don't think Celine Dion's fucking career was affected by it. But like, a lot of bands are not bands anymore because of the restrictions, because they couldn't just afford to be bands.
Any business for that matter, because a band, whether you like it or not, is a business if it tries to be viable in what it does. Because on any level, whether it's a hobby or not, the band still has to afford one or two things: time and or money.
Yes.
And if you don't have either, then how are you supposed to do it?
What you have to do is just do it anyways.
So
you can't have something unless you don't do it.
The closing of venues too are kind of contributing.
It's probably like the main thing right now.
The pandemic did affect a lot of the venues, and because of things like gentrification, it's harder and harder to afford to have a venue.
There's many more venues in Montreal, including Lat's Lip, who recently got shut down for
that was
and all that.
So stupid.
Well, it's happening a lot, right?
Yeah.
The problem is everyone's buying condos on popular streets or next to venues, and
you fucking live on Saint Denis, you fucking live on Saint Laurent, and you're complaining about the noise.
Go to the South Shore. Go to Terrebonne. Go to Beaumont.
Go to the fucking suburbs and die there. That's where you're supposed to be. Don't fucking waste your time with us urban livers who can fucking afford to be downtown, who've been living downtown all our fucking lives. We live next to the bars. We live next to the fucking college students who bang and smash and make noise.
You didn't know me then, but I lived on St. Dominic. And that's right next to Saint Laurent. And, well, I didn't care, but you hear
So if you want quiet, go to the fucking suburbs where you fucking belong.
Ask your fucking parents. They'll fucking
Otherwise,
that's the
so what do you expect? That's a problem. You're in the city, man. What the fuck do you expect is going to happen?
I think that's almost could that kill the scene? Venues getting shut down.
No,
because I feel like without venues, where are people going to perform?
I don't think that, especially punk rock bands, they don't give a fuck. They're going to play wherever they got to play. When I was 13 years old, 14 years old, we would go to my high school and find exterior plugs that we would use for the lawnmowers.
Yeah, outside.
Yeah, at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday, and unload the drums from my car and put our amps there and plug in and just start playing songs until the cops came. Fuck them.
After conducting those interviews, I wanted to take a break and experience the scene firsthand. Like Shawn pointed out, punk bands will literally play anywhere. Although it was taking place in an ordinary venue, I settled on attending the MTLHC toy drive to watch bands like One Last Threat perform. I subsequently made my way to Fufun Electric and watched the show unfold.
On est prêt? Êtes-vous prêts?
I play in One Last Threat. We've been playing shows for a year or so, but I've been in the hardcore scene pretty much for 25 years.
And what got you into the scene? Just finding.
Basically, like in high school, I was listening to punk rock, like mostly to punk rock. But like when I was like listening to like mixtape, there's always like the songs that were a bit faster and more aggressive that I was like, oh, that's my favorite one. But I didn't know yet it was like hardcore punk. And
I've never seen fucking people swing like that. So like, how would you describe a hardcore crowd? Like
violent, but at the same time, it's a family. Like, so that's what we were talking about right before, and we're all like, there's a lot of respect, but it's violent but respectful. So
gonna switch in English with my super accent to introduce you to someone. He's a student that is making a documentary about the underground scene in Montreal, and he's here. He's gonna take some footage. He's right there. Hi, Christian. Let's welcome him. So he's taking footage to show how the scene is good right now. It's healthy. So it's time to show what Montreal hardcore is about.
Is it harder for girls to get into the scene?
actually, our song "Sisterhood," that's what it's talking about.
Exactly.
Good sisterhood. All that's what's going on, is that me? Let's go!
Because when it started like 25 years ago, it wasn't the same as today. It was tougher to be like accepted. I mean, guys were always happy to have girls in the shows. You know what I mean? They were, but to be like kind of like you're real and you're like you like hardcore for real. You're like a real hardcore fan. It was harder because you were mostly just a girl or like someone's girlfriend or you know. So it evolves a lot. You saw tonight, like there were a lot of girls mushing. Yes. There's a lot of girls, like even like trans people, and I think for most people here, we find like a family, we find acceptance, we find like a crew that we all kind of relate to, and it's a place where we can get all our frustration, violence, you know, like out, but in like a respectful way. So. Like everyone is welcome. Like, do not be shy. Some people are like, I won't show up there because like I'm not gonna fit like that. No, everyone's fit here. If you like try it, you tried it tonight.
Yes.
And I can see in your eyes you're now addicted to hardcore shows. You have to be on. Like you have to see a live hardcore show to feel the vibe and understand what it's all about. So do not be shy. No one is gonna be judging. Like show up.
The day after the show, I was able to conclude that the current scene is alive and doing good. However, I still wanted to reach out to one final prominent figure in the local scene. The individual in question was brought up on countless occasions during the recording of the previous interviews, on and off camera. I figured he could answer the few last questions I had about Montreal's scene. His name is Paul Gott, and he played for Ripcordz.
I'm Paul Gott, and I'm singer and guitarist for the Ripcordz, and have been since 1980. And a 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
All right, so back.
Just I'm your lighting guy here. There you go.
So I feel like whenever you look up punk artists in Montreal, it's always the same group of guys, and everyone knows each other. So would you say like the scene in Montreal itself is very interconnected?
Yeah, I mean, I've always tried desperately not to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we weren't the cool band when we started out, and we've never tried to be the cool band, and we didn't hang out with the cool people, and there's always people who are more punk than we were. That's okay. We just did our stuff. We played our music. We supported other bands in whatever way we could. Still do. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it does tend to get cliquey, and I always find that's a bad thing. It's not Montreal, but in Halifax, you know, they had like this most amazing scene in the 90s, and everybody was like talking about, oh yeah, but it's, you know, it was an amazing scene because everybody came to the show. It wasn't like there was like thousands of people in it. There was like 150 people, and those 150 people would go to every single show. So it just felt like it was an awesome scene, and it was. And then, you know, a few years later, we go back, and it's like, okay, the scene's kind of falling apart. And one of the things that happened was that the people who were, some of the people in the crowd, some people left, and so the older people who were still there were kind of like, oh, I'm so cool, and I'm so great. And like all the new kids are coming in, oh, you weren't here when the things were, so they were like discouraging the younger people from joining the scene because they were such assholes. You know, and that's what we never want to be. We never want to be that. We always want to be welcoming. We don't want to be part of any clique. And I always find that's a bad thing for any scene.
Would you say in Montreal there's a lack of maybe young people or young bands?
I wouldn't say that at all. Like, there's a lot of bands out there. There's a lot of stuff happening. And, you know, we're just always playing with whatever bands that are out there. And whenever we find a band that's really, really young, we're like, hey, how's it going? Like, let's play some more shows together. Let's do it. And even when we're outside of Montreal touring, we tell the promoters, we'll play pretty much with anybody, but we don't want to just play with old bands. In fact, we prefer not to play with old bands. We want to just play with the younger bands because we want them to see us and we want to see them. And, you know, that's how you renew a scene, is you keep on welcoming things. And there's like so many bands in Montreal, and I never really pay attention to ages, but like none of them are as old as I am, so that's always a good thing. Like, I give out tour tips, like one of the things I publish on our site. And, you know, which is a lot of fun to do, but there's a couple of tour tips in there. One is, don't always play with bands who are exactly like you.
There's all diversity on there.
Yeah, you want to play with like the rockabilly band, and you want to play with like the kind of verging on pop, and the sort of the new school punk bands, and the skater bands. And, you know, when we play out west, we're playing with in Nanaimo. We always play with this band now called Danger Box, and they're skater punks.
Awesome.
And like, same thing when we play Southern Ontario, we often play with this band called Collider. And well, it's funny, we played with them in St. Catharines a few years ago, and then they're like, so how old are you guys? And they were like, oh, this. Anyway, we added up their ages, and together they were 18 years younger than I am. Added up their ages, and they was like 46, and I was like 62.
When things like this happen, do you ever like almost like take a step back and be like, wow, I've been doing this for so long and I've built up like a legacy? Do you ever like think about that?
I never really think of the legacy. I kind of find it funny that I'm still doing it and still having fun, and kind of doing the same thing I was doing in like 1992. You know, getting in the car and driving across Canada. I guess the difference now is that we don't carry equipment with us. We just plug into whatever the hell's there, because I'm 62. I don't want to be carrying cabinets and stuff.
So the song Girls in the Pit, right?
Yeah.
Do you find it's important for women to get maybe more involved into music, or is it just my perspective where I don't see?
Oh no, like I think, and for some reason Montreal is less diverse than other places. Like, well, you go to Toronto and there's a lot of people of color there at shows, and in Montreal we do get some, but it's not nearly as many as we should, I think. But you can't tell people to like your music. But all you can do is welcome them when they turn up. I think we wrote Girls in the Pit because we all would always look out into the pit at our shows, and there'd be at least as many girls in the pit as there were guys. So that was what we do. It's really tricky it's got a weird tempo to it that for the bass player and the drummer, so it's really hard to play. Actually, it doesn't sound like it, but it is. You know, our biggest problem is we got like 17 albums, and we put maybe 17 songs in a set, and which means there's going to be a few albums where we don't play anything. The other problem we've had recently is because we have so many people coming in to play the shows, we get to play 40 shows, but probably have 10 or 12 different lineups, and which means you can't really.
It gets harder over time.
It gets harder to add other songs or to practice songs that you haven't played in a while. So I'm hoping to get a drummer who's very aware of the time that's required, and that's one of the things before they even try out. Because we'll have tryouts in December. Before they even try out, we're going to say, okay, he's going to be ready for like a 3-week tour in the summer out west, and probably like a half a week in the Maritimes, and then another 20 shows throughout the year. And say yes to at least probably like 90% of that, because we do have subs, but then don't even bother trying out, because we need somebody who's going to be able to do that. And we offer you absolutely no money.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's more the experience, I guess. It's the experience and get your name out there.
It's for the fun.
That's true.
I mean, that's why we're doing it. That's why I'm doing it. That's why
you guys get paid for shows?
We get paid for shows, but that pays for our gas, it pays for our hotel, it pays for our meals. Awesome. And then it pays hopefully for the recording the next album. And it's what I call punkonomics. It's like you play enough shows just so you can get enough cash so that you can pay for the album before it's out, so you can get 1,000 albums. So you've paid for it before it's actually released, and then you'll sell some of those albums, slowly at all your shows, and then that will be money that you get during your tour, which pays for the tour, and then hopefully pays for the next album. So it's like you're always a little bit ahead. Yeah, but instead of like trying to, instead of putting out an album and spending, $10,000 putting out 1,000 vinyl albums and then hoping to get it back, you've kind of been working on that for 2 or 3 years to get that money, and so that basically now that album is donating money to the next album. So it's capitalism in reverse.
So would you say that's kind of contributed to Ripcordz longevity in the scene, like that kind of cycle that you guys have been relying on?
Yeah, I think. I don't know if that's contributed to our longevity. Though I guess if we weren't playing shows, we probably wouldn't sell any of the albums.
That's true. I mean,
but if I stopped playing shows, I'd risk making a profit, because I'd just be selling merch out of my living room, and then we'd actually make some money, and we wouldn't be having any expenses, and that would just be wrong, because it's punk rock, and you can't really make money doing punk rock. It's
all about
just
passion.
Yeah, it's about the fun.
That's true.
And it kind of worked. Wait. Lighting director.
Oh,
it's not going to come back.
Now it's burnt out.
Yeah. Oh,
there you go. Oh.
Stay.
Oh.
Okay, no, that didn't work. Sometimes that works.
What would be your best advice to get into like start playing or like start a band, or like what's your best advice to give someone?
Well, I think there's lots of, for one thing, play drums, because everybody needs a drummer. But usually parents and or roommates aren't very impressed if you're practicing your drums. But I think it's more just, you just have to pick stuff up and do it. That's the spirit, is like you just got to do it. Like if you wait for the right moment, if you wait until you're really good, if you wait for this, I still can't play a lead guitar, and I've been playing guitar for like 40 fucking years. So actually closer to 50 now that I think about it. So it's just, you just got to go out and do it and have fun.
If you were to maybe describe the scene in one word, or just Montreal in one word, what would it be?
Can I use a the?
Yeah.
The best.
The best. There you go. After briefly speaking with Jen, as well as having discussed all things related to Montreal's punk scene with Paul, it had come to me that I should get another female's perspective on the scene too. Thankfully, Paul had made a post on Facebook in hopes of helping me out with finding someone I could speak with. Kryztera Oi was one of the names tagged in the post's comment section. She had played with bands such as Chix N Dix, No Chaser, and now Smokestar. I reached out and scheduled one final interview.
Yeah, so my first band was Chix N Dix. I was in that band with my best friend Jess at the time. It's a really cool band. I guess we were like 19 or 20.
Really?
Played in that band for maybe 5 years, 6 years. We played with some pretty big bands with Chix N Dix, like the Casualties, Deglo, DOA, Agent Orange, The Brains. We played lots of local bands like Gerbia, Rat Patrol, Crossbones, Useless, Ripcordz, Manic Mano in the guest list. So many. This is a long time ago, by the way. I'm old now. Many years ago, I guess like 15, 17 years ago.
So like, speaking of, all this, what got you in it initially?
Oh man, well, I guess I was always surrounded by loud music. My mom would listen to a lot of music, everything from like The Clash, The Ramones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Patti Smith, all of that stuff, even before punk, Yeah, I was always surrounded by loud music. And then I saw a Casualties video, and I was like, what is this? This is nuts. So I went to HMV, remember HMV?
Yes, of course. I remember when it closed down, I remember.
Yeah, rest in peace. So I bought a Casualties CD, and I loved it. And then I bought Vice Squad with a girl singer. I was like, wow, this is even cooler. Then that was it. I started going to shows regularly. Lex, do you remember Lex?
I do not.
No, that was before your time, I think. Lex, Cafe Chaos. What else was there? Catacombs back in the day before it moved. They all shut down. They're all gone. All of our amazing venues are leaving.
Speaking of all this, right? How long exactly have you been in the scene for?
22, 23 years.
Do you regret any of those earlier days? Would you have done something differently?
No, I don't regret any of it. I mean, maybe I could have played more shows and been to more shows, but I guess that's really what you want at that time. You want somewhere that you can just fucking feel all the feelings and let go everything, You wanna do it, man. I wanted to sing, I wanted to yell, I wanted to say fuck the system. So that's what I did, and it was lots of fun. I mean, I was in an all-girl punk band too. That was a lot of fun. No Chaser, so much fun. And those girls are still playing in bands. You should definitely check out Nothing Left.
Nothing Left. All right.
Morose, Liminal, and a new all-girl band that's coming out is called Tenaz.
All right.
I think I'm saying that correctly. I really hope so. But yeah, they're new. They recorded, I guess, an EP early this year.
Yes.
I think.
All right, I'll check it out.
They're upcoming, so check them out.
Awesome. And obviously the opposite of regret is pride. So what's like your proudest moment in the entirety of your career?
Oh man, I guess the first time I went on tour.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Like you hear bands going on tour, you see bands going on tour, but then you go on tour, it's a vacation, man. You've got to work. You've got to be on time to places, but I mean, you're traveling with all your friends. You meet all these new friends, all these new bands, and it just like opens up a whole new world to you to go on tour. So yeah, Chix N Dix, my first tour was with Chix N Dix. We toured Ontario, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI.
So you guys went like all over Canada?
Yeah. It was like a two-week tour.
So we talked about, pride, regret, all that. How do you find it's evolved, between since you started it currently?
Well, the internet definitely has, I mean, you don't see bands as much flyering anymore, putting up their own flyers. That was a lot of fun. You just don't do that as much anymore, I guess. I don't think it's evolved for the worse or the better. I think it evolved because it had to.
Yeah.
Like, not every place allows a punk band to set up and scream for 3 hours. Like, so, like I said, a lot of venues closed down. A lot of venues are coming back. So, I mean, there's still like Piranha Bar, there's still Atomic Cafe. I've played a show here before.
Really?
What else is there? Foofs.
Yes, classic.
There's Turbo House, Barfly, Hemisphere Gauche.
Do you find the Montreal scene is more like male dominated?
Definitely, but it's getting better.
That's all.
Definitely, just because like all of my experience in bands, most of the bands that I played with were all male or maybe one female, two females.
Yeah.
Not many all female bands, but there are. I mean, there are all female bands. There's the Leftovers, No Bro, Rope Skills. Like there was the Horny Bitches.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not a band anymore. Rest in peace, Marie. There's lots of female-fronted bands too.
Yes.
One of my favorite Montreal bands, Gut Rot. Do you know Gut Rot?
I think I saw them play at Film Electric when the Exploited came to Montreal,
Yes.
came to Montreal in 2023. Wadi couldn't make it. The Exploited couldn't make it, so it turned into Total Chaos, Acid something, Out of Order, and Gut Rot was opening for everyone.
Gut Rot kicks ass.
Yes.
And I think that's one of those bands that metalheads and punks, like it's kind of in the middle there. Oh, they're so good. So friggin' good. Check out my band Smoke Spell. It's awesome. I love it.
If you had any like advice and you girls want to start a band, right? What would you say?
Start writing. Maybe start writing lyrics. After you got some lyrics, buy a shitty guitar. Shitty because if you don't keep it up, and at least you didn't spend so much money, find people that think like you and that want to do stuff like you. You know, go to shows and talk to people.
Awesome. As maybe a closing statement. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Closing statement. Yes.
Fuck you, man. Come on. What am I gonna tell you?
Go to punk shows. Buy punk t-shirts. Spend that $10 fucking for your bands, your friends' bands t-shirt. Keep it alive because it's not something that's easy. Not everybody wants to listen to punk. Not every bar and cafe wants to play punk. So try hard, man. Find punk. And
anybody who's part of the scene now is part of something kind of magical, and I hope they realize it. And I hope that people realize how good the scene is and that they will be looked on as the golden age. So just enjoy it
and love the music you love, because music's better than medicine. And thank you, brother.
Oh yeah, boycott Spotify.
Fuck those shit.
Okay, listen, kids. Don't use Spotify. No, I'm serious. Listen, kids. Do not use Spotify. Do not use your hard-earned money.
One person should not be
shut up.
filthy fucking
I'm
rich
talking.
off your money.
No, do not,
your
listen,
recordings.
do not use Spotify. Do not use your hard-earned money to finance some billionaires' fucking private jet. If you like music,
there's Bandcamp for everybody, which is a cool place to find stuff.
also check out the DIY feminist screen printer Wild Heart Creations. She's a really cool chick. She's also in the punk scene, I believe, and she makes
artwork.
Yeah, she makes art. She makes patches, t-shirts. She's very cool.
Thank you, Chris.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure's ours. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
C'est la dernière. Donnez tout ce que vous savez. Tirez les CEO. Cassez vos boss. Dehors de la shop. Puis mobilisez-vous, tabarnak.
If you were to like describe Montreal, or maybe just Montreal, or like just the scene in general, in like a word or a sentence, what would it be?
Oh fuck! That's my sentence.
There you go. Oh fuck.